Hello, I'm Bud Qualk. I'm your host for Master Gardening, and welcome back. Today we're going to go to a daffodil field in Paducah, Kentucky called jonquilon. You know the difference between geophytes, narcissus, daffodils, March flowers, jonquils? Are they all the same? We'll find out. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Bud Qualk again and Carolyn Roof, Miss Daffodil, Paducah, Kentucky. We're here at jonquilon, and this is by far the #1 planting of daffodils in this part of the country. Carolyn, how long has this been here? How long did it take to make something like this?
Well, the family bought this property, about 500 acres, about 1906. And
100 years ago almost.
About 100 years ago, and this was the nursery farm. So at the end of the season, what bulbs didn't sell came back and got planted.
So it was really, the bulbs would have been wasted anyway, so they just planted them. And
They
now,
planted them.
These things, most of them are antiques. You can't buy them on the market, or you still can buy some of them?
Yes to all the above. Yes, you can buy some online. Some you can get through catalogs. Some, actually, in this field, are no longer available commercially, and you have to know somebody who has some who will give them to you.
Who planted these?
All of these were planted by my mother-in-law.
Margaret.
Margaret.
Margaret Roof.
Right.
And this is just very special because normally you're not allowed even to walk in here for the without getting your feet sterilized and what have you.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for letting us do this today. Let's walk up through here. You've got about every kind of variety. You got the white cups and the yellow cups and the orange cups and the multi. Just tell me about some of these.
Well, daffodils come in more than yellow or white. Obviously, you have a yellow one, and we're in kind of a yellow area, although you see darker yellows. This is a trumpet, by the way. The way you know it's a trumpet is the petals are shorter than the cup is, and you can actually get that in what they call a reverse. White cup, yellow petals.
This right here is unusual. That's has a very small trumpet.
Cup.
Cup, sorry.
Rimmed in red, and you notice it's kind of burned. The sun does that.
The sun burns it.
Yeah. Reds, it'll burn.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, you don't want burned daffodils.
I don't know.
Also orange.
Orange.
In front of you.
Oh, that's a nice one right there.
Yeah. Obviously pure yellow.
Now we're going to talk about the different kinds of daffodils over here later on. But is a daffodil really a geophyte? Is that right?
Yeah.
A geophyte?
Do you remember what a geophyte is?
What's a geophyte?
A geophyte is a plant that has its bud underground.
Anything underground, like a daffodil or
A daffodil,
tulip
an
or,
iris,
any of that stuff.
the tulip, yeah.
Well, how about a jonquil? Are any of these jonquils?
No.
No. What's a jonquil? Not everybody talks about jonquils.
Do you know what a narcissus is?
No, but you're going to tell me. What in the heck's a jonquil and a narcissus?
Okay. You know that there's different roses, like hybrid teas and climbers and whatnot. They're different daffodils. Jonquil is a daffodil, but daffodils are not necessarily jonquils.
Jonquils is just a form of a daffodil.
Right.
That's not those big, huge, yellow, large ones.
No. All daffodils have a fragrance to them, but jonquils have a very, very, very sweet fragrance, and they have round stems. Feel the stem, and it's ridgy, it's flat.
Flat.
Jonquils are round, and they have a real fragrance.
We'll have an example of them in a little bit. How about a narcissus?
Narcissus is the Latin for daffodil.
So a narcissus and daffodil are exactly the same
The
thing?
same thing. Don't go to the nursery and say, I want a daffodil and a narcissus. It's the same thing.
I thought a narcissus was the little white things about like this, but they...
No.
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 So they're the same thing? All right.
Yeah. Easy.
All right. Well, what else? Let's go down through here.
Okay. There's some...
Now,
I was going to say there should be some orange ones. These are really stunning. Normally, when it's this bright and sunny, they're not going to have any color because the sun fades them out.
That's
the yellows,
permanently or just over in the daytime?
Pardon?
Permanently fade them out, not just in the daytime. They permanently,
They permanently fade out. These come from the mountains of Pyrenees. They come from Ireland. Overcast, miserable, arthritic weather. They love bright colors, wonderful color. This gorgeous spring, they fade out.
Let's go find our chair here and you show us some examples of what we're talking about. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, gardeners, welcome back. We're here at Jonquilon with Carolyn Roof, and I'm in whole hog heaven. This is the daffodil time of the year, and if you're a daffodil lover, just look at these things. Carolyn, let's talk about some of the different kinds we talked about earlier, like the jonquil.
Okay, this is a jonquil. This is what the place was named for.
And the reason it's a jonquil is?
The reason it's a jonquil?
Yeah, why is it
Well, you can tell it's a jonquil as opposed to the rest of them because it has a very round stem and very, very sweet fragrance.
Very, very sweet.
Yeah, all of them have fragrance, but the jonquil is especially sweet.
Okay, what about that windblown look one over there on your other hand? What's that? What kind of?
This sweet little one is called a cyclaminius, and it's named for the plant cyclamen because it has these windswept petals. I mean, you can always identify this by the petals. Cyclamen.
Cyclamen.
Yeah.
And I've seen white ones like that too.
Yeah.
And big ones, large daffodils too.
Yeah. This is about normal, average size for a cyclamen though.
Okay.
Yeah. This is another one, if I can pull it out of here.
You hold that up. Yeah.
And this is a hybrid one that's not quite as windswept.
Those are almost exactly the same, aren't they?
These are different varieties. There are over 40,000 different named varieties
40,000 different
of daffodils. So these are two different, even though they look alike. And
Yeah.
this is another one,
Okay.
slightly windswept.
Okay, tell me about the colors.
Well, the colors obviously range from white through yellow, but then you also have white and yellow are the natural colors, and the rest has been from hybridization. This very red color, and we lost where's the red one? We lost the really
that's okay.
the really red one.
Yeah.
And then you have little ones that are rimmed in red.
You said the sun does that?
The sun burns the edges of where it's red. This is very crisp right now. Actually, this flower is on the way out, but the sun actually burned the edges. And this is a poet. It's called a poeticus.
Okay,
It's
what about that reversion stuff we were talking about earlier?
The reverse bicolor, the normal is that the petals are, here they are.
Yeah, there they are.
Normal is the cup will be a color and the petals white, but then you have a reverse bicolor,
So
whereas the cup is white and the petals are yellow.
That's called reversion.
Reverse bicolor.
Reverse bicolor. Okay. What about the ones I saw there? You had some that has 3 or 4 blooms on the same petal. Or
On the same stem?
Yeah.
This one I really like. It's called geranium. It's a tazetta.
I've got some of those in my yard. Yeah, we sold those not too long ago. You can get different colors and stuff like in these right here. That'll be 4 different blooms on the same stem.
This will, and actually normally it will have enough blooms that will be this big by the time the whole thing blooms. This is not a very good example.
Yeah.
And this is a triandrous. Now this is also
A what?
a triandrous.
That's a little baby.
Well, this happens to be a miniature,
Okay.
but this is the shape of a typical triandrous, and it has multi-blooms, and you can tell it by the bell shape of the cup.
I don't think I've ever seen anything that small. Oh my.
And then in your hand, here, I'll take these from you. You have, I think I found the red. You have a whole container of what are called split coronas.
Split coronas.
The cup is a corona, and it's so ruffled that it splits and it lays back. And I think they look like hibiscus.
Yes. Really unusual. It looks like more than one flower in there.
Yeah.
Almost like a double.
And they can be double. But these are wonderful for flower arranging, and somewhere in here we do have a double. But
There's a couple doubles right here.
Here we go. Yeah.
That pink one and the yellow one, both are doubles. Aren't
Yeah.
they? We got daffodils flowing everywhere, folks. This is rough, I'll tell you. Okay, these are doubles right here.
And a double can be the petals are doubled, the cup is doubled, or the anthers are doubled. This is an excellent example of doubling.
Now this one right here, what about this one right here? Let's get this before we forget it.
Oh, this is my favorite.
Tell us a story about that.
Well, there is a miniature called Rip Van Winkle. And this is what Rip Van Winkle looks like. And some interesting person at a flower show. I didn't do it.
Flower show.
At a flower show.
Professional judges.
Put one of these in the show as a daffodil, labeled it Rip Van Winkle. It's a dandelion.
That's a dandelion.
This is a dandelion.
But the Rip Van Winkle looks just like that.
Looks exactly like this.
Oh my God.
Some of the judges didn't see the humor in it.
Yes. Well, this is wonderful. Did you do tours here, Carolyn, in the springtime? Charge, what, $50 a person? What's the deal on that?
No way, only for a real good friend.
And master gardeners.
Well, actually, nobody gets to come in the fields because you can spread a virus that will absolutely wipe out all of this.
Overnight.
Just about overnight, and my mother-in-law never allowed anybody in the fields except me. And the bulb specialist at Missouri Botanic Garden said that this is the cleanest fields he's ever seen. So really, really careful about who we allow in.
It could be some of the reasons why you see the gaps in the rows. These used to be rows, and now they're kind of gaps here and there, and for different reasons, but it could have been some of that.
Actually, some of the bulbs have been dug and taken up to Missouri Botanic Garden, but yes, some of them have died out naturally, and then some of them we think are virus.
Okay. Well, this is Bud Qualk at Jonquilon. We're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to plant a bush. This time of year is a good time of the year to be planting trees and shrubs and perennials and all kind of things. We're going to plant a shrub / tree here in a little bit, and I'm going to show you how easy it is. It's not scientific. They want to make it think it is, but it's very easy. We'll be back in a minute. Stay tuned.
George Washington planted this tree in 1785. He understood the importance and magnificence of trees and planted hundreds of them here at his Mount Vernon home. I like to think he did this for the good of America. Unfortunately, due to urban sprawl, our community annually loses thousands of trees. The America the Beautiful Act of 1990, enacted during my husband's administration, created a tree planting foundation, the National Tree Trust, so that the steps started by George Washington can continue today. By getting involved in the National Tree Trust, you too can ensure the legacy of America the Beautiful from sea to shining sea, for the good of America.
I've got this hole already dug, took the, the hard part out. My assistant did this, by the way. Tammy, my assistant. We're going to plant this peewee magnolia, and this is a very special magnolia. I bought this at the Garden Gurus event in 2005. It gets about 30 feet tall, has miniature flowers on it. For somebody that's got a smaller yard, doesn't need an 80-foot magnolia tree. And I really could have left it outside because it'll do okay in our winters, but I was a little scared. I stuck it in my greenhouse, and it looks a little rough right now, but I just wanted to weather it to the spring and then plant it in my yard this spring. Very, very nice specimen. Okay, like I said, it's not rocket science. I've dug this hole, and this hole looks pretty nasty. But you want to make sure when it's wet like this that you don't, the edges aren't slick smooth where the roots will seal off and the water will seal like a container, and it won't drain good. So that looks pretty good. And this is just, it's not clay, and this is pretty good soil, but you don't want to make the soil too good. And in the past, a lot of gardening experts have said, okay, make a $40 hole for a $5 plant. You don't want to do that. I'm sorry. And like I said, there's differences of opinion, but if you want your roots to go out and encourage them to go out into the rest of the soil, you don't want the soil in the hole to be so much better than the adjoining soil that it won't go out there. And I've had trees that the roots have gone round and round in a circle in that real good soil and have never made it out into here. And when it got so tall, the darn things would tip over in the wind. All the root ball was right here in this. So you want to use basically the same soil that you use that's already there. Make the hole a little bit bigger and a little bit deeper than what the plant would take. Okay, we'll pop this baby out of here. If you're going to buy a plant, it's always a good idea to do this at the nursery to see what the heck you got going here, and this is perfect. A lot of times they're root bound or something like that, You can scuff that up a little bit so those roots will go out there a little better. But this one doesn't have to do that. It's pretty good shape. Let's see what we got here. That's not too bad. I'll tell you what. You don't want to plant it too deep. That's probably the biggest thing people do wrong, because your good soil's up on top, and the deeper you go, I don't care how good your soil is, you're going to sooner or later hit clay. This soil here is pretty darn good. So I'm going to knock a little bit more down in there before I put it in. Like I said, you want to use pretty well the same soil that you started with. Now, if you want to put a little root stimulation or a little fertilizer down in there, that's fine. Okay, let's stick that baby in there. If I didn't do another thing, that plant would probably grow all right, not even fill in the hole. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But it would. Okay, now we're going to stick in some more around the edges. Tap it down in there good. And the smaller the hole, the easier this is. So some guys like to dig a deep, big hole. It takes them half the day to dig the hole. I'm kind of lazy. This is a sod here. I don't probably put that in a compost bin somewhere. Tamp this down as you go. And I'll tell you what is handy. You got the water hose handy. You get it about halfway full. Water it in. If not, tamp it down with your shovel or your foot. Where's Tammy at? I need some help over here. My assistant's gone for water. You can kind of break up the soil around the edge too a little bit. Now, if you weren't here, I'd probably be doing this faster. Because like I said, I'm lazy. We don't have a water hose here right now, but as soon as this show's over, I'm going to water that in real good. The reason you want to do that is there's some air pockets down there, and that's not good. If those roots get into that air pockets, they could die. So you want to water that in good, make sure you get good root contact. Another trick is keep that a little bit lower, if you can, just a hair lower than the level of the ground, so when you water it, that water will kind of stay around that plant instead of running off down the field or down the driveway. That's about it. Like I said, fertilizer and what have you. Of course, the first thing you wanted to do, and it's too late now for this one, but you wanted to make sure you put this where you wanted it. If the tree likes shade, likes full sun, whatever, you pick that spot. And I picked this spot. This is where I want it. So hopefully you're doing the same thing. Don't plant something that loves full sun or likes shade, and vice versa. Okay, there's some other things that we need to do this time of year. We got daffodils going. We got trees we're planting. We had a segment on pruning, and this is the best time of the year for pruning. You can prune it all year long, though, pretty well. Pruning is best when they're dormant, but pruning you can do any time of the year that you think it needs to be done. Okay, whenever you've got the time. In your flower bed, things you want to do is, right now, you might want to cut back your ornamental grasses. In the next couple weeks, probably going to start seeing that new grass come up down in the base of your ornamental grasses, and it won't hurt them to cut the tips off of those, but I always like to cut my grasses down before that happens. The grass looks a lot better. I have a better feeling about it, so you want to cut those ornamental grasses down. Your daylilies, that mound of crap that's from last year's leaves and stuff that's around those, you want to pull all that back. It was 75 degrees today. You want that soil to warm up. So what that mulch is doing right now, anything that's laying around those plants in your flower bed, it's keeping that ground cool. It's protecting it from that hot rays. So you pull all that back, get rid of all the leaves out of your bed, get ready to do your mulching and your planting. Your neighbors will be happy too, because it looks a lot better after you get all that stuff pulled out of there. This is a good time of the year. You'll start seeing your hostas start sticking up out of the ground. Now you know where they are. You didn't know where they were a month ago. So you know where the hostas are. Dig those hostas up, the ones that are too big or the ones that are in the way. They're two of them, they're too close together and they're crowding each other. Dig that one up, take your shovel. It's just like this soil right here. Say this is a clump of hostas. They're real tough. You just take that shovel and cut them in half like that, or cut them in quarters. like that, and pick that quarter up. I'm just pretending this is a hosta. You're right, your imagination. Then you plant that where you want it, you plant that one where you want it, and I've got to do a lot of this year.
No matter who you are.
No matter where you're from.
No matter where you're going.
You can be certain.
No matter who you are.
City girl,
Country boy.
athlete, student,
Happy.
thoughtful, tall,
Short.
You can be certain. No matter where you're from.
west, south,
Farm.
city, small towns,
Suburb.
You can be certain. No matter where you're going.
To college.
to work, to train,
To play.
to travel.
To find your place.
You can be certain you need education. You can be certain you need to stay in school. This message is brought to you by the Air Force because we're certain about the value of a good education. No matter what you do in life, aim high.
Carolyn, what do you do when your flowers fade? Mow them down the lawnmower?
Well, since we have 3 acres of daffodils, we wait until mid-June to mow down. The smart people plant daylilies and don't worry about it. But if you have a clump like this looks pretty bad.
It's starting to look pretty ugly.
It's
yeah.
looking a little rough. So what you do is you run your hand down the stem. This is where nails come in handy, and cut it off. Now, Jason, who is the authority at Mobot, said you don't have to do this, but it does make it look a lot cleaner. I mean, who wants this
Now
in the
that's
front
just
yard?
to make it look good. Now, for
It-
the plant's sake, what do you have to do?
Well, actually, it doesn't hurt the plant to leave this, other than the fact that it'll form seed, and why put the energy into the seed? You want next year's bulb to start working. Now, you don't mow this until this foliage is yellow down to about
It
here
gets real ugly.
and starts looking ugly. That's why the daylilies are planted. Yeah. The other thing you don't do is you don't spend all day on your hands and knees braiding this.
Now, Martha says to pull this together and put some string around it, and it looks a lot better, doesn't it?
Well, what it does, it cuts the energy from going down into the bulb to produce next year's flower. What she does with her bulbs is treat them like annuals.
So, if you tie them around here and braid them, and you break the leaf,
Like you're doing right now, yeah.
then that can't pump energy back down into the
Right.
bulb. So you might as well mow it if you're going to be braiding it,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
It saves time, energy. Plant daylilies, plant hosta. Don't worry about it.
Okay. And what is this little thing right here? Is that the seed pod right there? Isn't it? So as long as you go around there and you pop that seed pod off there, the plant is loving it. And everything else is for aesthetics.
Yeah, and you can do it up here, but you still have this stem, so I go all the way down.
The stem really doesn't look that bad right now. It might later. Is it going to turn brown quicker?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But out here in a field like this, you don't have to worry about aesthetics as much. This would drive you crazy trying to do that out here, wouldn't you?
I don't do it. No. The other thing is that because we mow, we let everything go back in the ground, we have never fertilized. If you want to, right now you can add a bulb booster. When the daffodils start going,
High in phosphorus.
you can add a bulb booster if you want to, but you don't need to. These grow naturally in very, very, very poor soil. So the more you love them, the more you give them, the worse it is for them.
So they get this far by just what energy was in the bulb itself. Now is when it needs the fertilizer after it blooms.
For next year.
Okay. Now, some of these got spaces in between them here, but I've got some bulbs that they looked real good for a few years. Now they look like they're getting really bigger. And there's more flowers, and now they're going to stop blooming. Now I don't see that out here. Where
They're getting crowded out. You need to dig them once the foliage goes down. Dig them, separate them. You can put them right back in the ground, or
immediately.
or you can wait until November to plant. I always wait until it's arthritic weather. The ground is cold enough. There are no organisms running around. They love it.
And you don't, of course, you want to space them out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put them back in the ground exactly like
Don't
they
put them
were.
back the way you did.
Right,
no,
right.
At least 12 inches if you want them to really multiply. If you want instant, 4 to 6 inches, but that's not real good.
Yeah, it depends on what's in the front yard or the backyard.
Yeah.
And I know I've had some luck with some of them that they get too tight, they get too many, and other ones seem to go on for years and years and years and never do that. I guess it's just the kind of daffodil it is that makes it multiply or not.
Each one's different.
Yeah. Okay, well that's Bud Qualk at Jonquilon with Miss Paducah Daffodil, Carolyn Roof. We'll see you next time. This is Master Gardening, Western Kentucky style.